Home is where the heart is. Heaven knows I didn't get enough. And I'm afraid of darkness. So life is better when you light me up. And I'm ashamed of all of my mistakes. For heaven's sakes, I've been swinging from the rafters. And I don't know if I got what it takes. For heaven's sakes, throw me out with all them bastards. Small disasters.
Okay, so this is part 2 of an interview with my father, Bill Rose.
A man who's lived a life worthy of being put on a podcast.
Yeah, he's amazing.
A lot of people think their lives are worthy of being on a podcast.
And they are wrong.
Including us.
and we are wrong. Yeah. And so this is Pop. We're talking a little bit about what it means to meet Elvis and to understand Elvis and to maybe learn a little bit about ourselves
in the process
through Elvis. How did we get there? What were we talking about? We're talking about the.
Dave was talking
you were talking about music, Spotify.
Spotify. Anyway, you can. I wish we had it set up. You give me a name of a song that you want to hear, and you type it in, and you find that song. And what I like about it is, I'll look for a song that I want to hear. And then it'll show anybody who's ever covered it. And you'll find someone, not only the guy who sang it, but the people who covered it. And sometimes you find covers that are better than the others. And so you can also set up playlists by genre or by the artist. So you can listen whenever. I have one playlist called Yeah, So What? And it's all songs that I might not admit to in public that I listen to.
Well, like what?
There's a lot of Peter Cetera on that list.
I'm not in on that joke.
You don't know Peter Cetera?
I don't have a clue.
Spotify, I gotta go in here.
Peter Cetera was very popular in the 80s. There's a lot of Jackson 5, early Jackson 5 on it. And someone might have snuck some Barry Manilow on there. I don't know.
And I'm not afraid to say Neil Sedaka.
There's Neil Sedaka on there too.
Nobody knows who that guy is.
You haven't talked about Elvis yet.
I love Elvis.
We've talked about Elvis before.
What do you think about Elvis?
He's a dirty old man.
Is he still with us?
He's no longer with us.
Was he dirty? Was he naughty?
It was during the 50s when he was on what was it, the
Ed Sullivan?
Ed Sullivan show, I think, was the first, along with he came before the Beatles.
He wiggled his bottom.
He did, or
his front
on the other side,
his front part.
Which was really risque.
Yeah,
I mean that was kind of.
Now you can't make it if you don't do that.
You have to wiggle the front of your bottom.
Just imagine if Lawrence Welk was still with us.
Everything be okay.
Poor guy.
He'd be shimmying his hips.
He's probably happy where he is. No, Elvis was along the risque. It's nothing now, but I liked Elvis. Not in the beginning because I didn't understand music, but I went to see him as an adult at Reno or South Shore.
You saw Elvis live at South Shore.
Elvis handed me. This is a true story too. You won't believe it. But and he used to wipe his brow with silk hankies.
I do that.
And give them and they're priceless if you can give them away and be as famous as he is. He handed me one.
That's amazing.
He handed me, and there was we went with there was four couples that went, and your mother and I were sitting and we bribed the maitre d' to sit us down in front, and you had to give money and at the time it was $100, which was like $1,000 now. Yeah. And Jim Burks was the guy. Jim Burks whipped out the money. You remember Jim?
Yeah.
And so he says to the guy seating you, he just holds up a $100 bill to him, and he says, "We want to get in front. This hopeful they will get up front, $100 bill. If we do get up close enough up front, there's another one with it."
Nice.
So then we all had to chip in. Then we had to. He came up with the first one, but then we had to come up with the second one.
Fair enough.
But $200 got us in the front row, and they made the front rows. The end tables went towards the stage. You didn't want rows sitting facing the stage. You wanted towards the stage. For for some reason, but
You think so? Half the people didn't have their backs to the stage.
that could be it.
Everybody could turn their heads and look down the
It was kind of
table.
in a dining area, kind of.
Yeah.
And the problem with that, though, they had to put kind of people they could trust on those tables, because some gal would be in love, would jump on the table, and it was just a ramp right up to Elvis on the stage.
Yeah.
They'd run up on the stage, and they'd have to be bodyguards tackling women on. It got unpleasant, but they had to guard against
That's a
that. But
good
anyway,
job.
we sat right up on these front row tables.
Amazing.
Close enough that he handed me one. Now, the other three girls, ladies in this foursome, got one, and your mom got one, but one of the ladies didn't. So, and of course I didn't want the damn thing, but so she got, all four of them got
Got a
silk
scarf
hang
from her.
from Elvis Presley. True story.
And what was this, in Tahoe or Vegas?
This was in Tahoe.
Okay.
Did my mom keep the scarf, or what happened to the scarf?
I don't remember. I'll claim the fifth.
You claim that you plead the fifth on that. But that's amazing. Like, you met that guy's a legend. Like, he's beyond.
I think she sold it.
Did she sell it?
Don't. Can you turn this?
Yeah,
thing
we're
off?
gonna. This thing's not. We're not recording.
Bill, this is not the first time this story has come up on our podcast.
So, and then did you guys go backstage and meet Elvis later?
No, we didn't. We did not.
Oh.
No, we went about whatever you do in a gambling casino after the show's over.
Yeah.
My parents have a similar story, but with Carrot Top. So this.
You
hurt me.
Redheaded.
Yeah, redheaded comedian.
Just kidding. I think he's in Vegas now. He's got a.
Does he wipe his brow with silk scarves?
He wipes it with props and
And hands about.
and
You get
everything's got like orange stain on it.
a silk tuna. You get.
But actually, my parents, I know at one point when we were staying in Tahoe with friends, they went and saw Engelbert, what's his dink? Humperdinck.
Humper.
One time I saw years ago, Archie Bunker called him Engelbert, what's his dink, and that name stuck. Even though I know it's
I just
Humperdinck.
call him Humber. They didn't like that
Humperdinck.
either.
I enjoy it. I enjoy that
dink?
music, but
I do too.
anyway.
So we have you up to you joined the Navy, and so you went from San Francisco to Saratoga, grew up there.
Elvis hit on your wife.
Yeah, did Elvis hit on your wife?
I'm just kidding.
Did it freak you out?
He did, but that's another story.
We jumped. Did he?
Yeah.
Well, that's this story. That's the story we're talking about. So what happened there?
We'll go there later.
Okay, so you and Eleanor
When the red light's not on.
hit it off. Well, I could tape over this red light.
Yeah, right.
So Eleanor was beautiful, played the cello.
Right.
That didn't work out, I'm
That
assuming?
didn't last. No.
Did she see you at all? Did she
see
think?
me? She saw right through me.
Did she know your play?
Yeah. I was so obvious, you know.
You can't play the cello.
11. Yeah.
That really happened, because that sounds a lot like an episode of the Andy Griffith Show. To be perfectly
Yeah,
honest.
no, I didn't believe it, and I've used that lie in my own story to my children, and I didn't realize it was true, and now I feel bad. I've
Cello
told
story?
them that I carry the cello.
You know, no. When you come out with uphill both ways in the snow, 6 feet deep, all that you can you can pretty well figure out that that's not true.
Yeah,
No, but when I tell you a cello story, those are
that's cool.
those are true.
I
No
blended that.
no
with
one makes up cello stories.
Yeah.
No one
Who
does.
could- yeah.
Cello stories
Why
are true.
would you?
Fact.
You know, I
Okay.
could have said a drum. I could have got mastered in drum. I had the bass drum, and I had to
And you carried it a mile
but
in the
I
snow.
didn't. I picked the cello.
You're kind of a dope.
Well, you know, at the time I liked, French.
Actually, it's a good play. I would have. That's a good move, I think. And it's a commitment. Like, I'm doing the cello. It's not like the harmonica where you could just pocket it.
That's right.
That's impressive. So then, how do you get from playing the cello for Eleanor to
in the fifth, sixth grade, something like
sixth grade to then joining the Navy at 17?
I joined the Navy. Well, true story. Actually, I joined the Navy Reserves when I was in high school. And I have because there was a book. I read a book, and this book, I claim now. Maybe I made this up too, but I still have the book. It was by Joshua Slocum, and it was about sailing around the world alone, single-handedly back in the early 1900s. And he was a ship's captain and world traveler. in big ships and seas and knew the world, and he chose to build his boat on the East Coast. And
He built it himself? Or?
he built this boat himself to
Joshua Slocum.
Slocum.
Slocum. All right.
There's a UM on the end of that.
Slocum.
And I'll loan you the book if you want.
If you still have it, I'll read it.
I just got rid of all my World War II and books that I had collected up and read. I'm done with them. And but I didn't give away Joshua Slocum, and he built this boat to travel around the world, so it's seaworthy and all that. And I read that, and he went around. He went around the Horn, and he went around Cape Hope, and in a little 34-foot sailboat.
Wow.
Alone. And that, to me, was a challenge that I wanted to go travel around South America and see the westerlies. The westerlies, basically the wind travels around the world when you're looking. If you're looking at the South Pole and looking up at Earth,
Okay.
and you're looking at the South Pole, then the wind goes around
Counterclockwise?
Antarctica. It looks like clockwise to me if I'm looking, and they come from the west. When
Clockwise,
you say,
all right.
when you call winds out, it's from where they're from.
Where they're from. So
where
if you
they're
say
from.
westerly,
Don't
it's,
enter the.
it's blowing east if it's a
It's
westerly.
blowing right, and so the westerlies and the sailing ships. I got into whalers and that kind of. If I had been born in the 1700s, 1800s, I would have been a cabin boy on a whaling ship. I'd have done something like that. There's a little memo in my freshman high school. I was a tweaky little 97-pound weakling,
Really?
a little boy.
In the high school?
Going into high school, I was 97 pounds and not very tall. Well, I wasn't fatty. I was skinny, 97 pounds. And there's a note, and from my counselor said, "Do not try to talk Bill into going on to college right away."
Really?
Because I have it. I'll give it.
I
to
would
you.
love to see that. I would love to have
Because
it.
Encourage him to
he's-
find a skill to hone.
Poor Bill.
No,
didn't
he
work out
said,
with Eleanor.
He said he's going to go into the submarine. No, he didn't say that. He said though, he is going to go in the Navy before he goes to college.
This counselor said that?
That's right.
He knew you. Like that
He
was a
knew
good,
me well
that was a
enough
person
when I was
doing their
there.
job really well.
13 years old. I was just. How old are you when you go 8th grade? You're 13.
Yes.
I was September, so I was 13 when I went into high school. So I was 13 years old.
And he spotted that right away.
Yeah,
What a cool dude.
I don't know how he did it, but I got those records.
Pretty smart.
It was a little clandestine that I got the records. They didn't give them to you. They were saved by the high school forever and ever until somebody I know was burning the records, incinerating them to get rid of them.
Wow.
And he saw my jacket, my folder.
And he knew you.
Yeah, he was friends in high school.
Bill, you want your records?
I needed
No,
a
he
friend like
didn't
that in
even
high
ask.
school.
I would've
He
liked it.
saved.
I would've had him
He
burn the
dug
records.
through and he saved. I talked to his wife later. He's since passed, but Dennis Giordano.
What, say the name slowly.
Dennis Giordano.
Giordano.
Bless his heart.
And
he
he saved-
saved my records, and when he died, his wife took the time and he'd saved these records, and we were all in kind of the same group that ran together, not as super pals, because we were Saratoga, we were dirtbags, but and they were Los Gatos, so they were better.
They were, yeah.
But
Better
we ran
people.
in kind of the same group, and Dennis was a wonderful guy.
Wow.
Sense of humor, and he died early from cancer, and
Jeez.
and his wife knew that it were important to him, so she went to my house, found out where I live now, as is since my previous life when I was married to your mother, but found out where I live now and dropped this folder off, and with this memo in
That's
it.
impressive. Did he
Yeah.
save Ted's and Greg's too?
He
or-
saved Ted's. Greg's wasn't in the group.
Was already.
Yeah, and so anyway, I decided when I was a little boy that I was going in the Navy. I was going to go to sea, and some of the
When
adventures.
you were 13 when you read that book then too, or when did you read the book?
I don't remember exactly when.
But they
sometime
confirmed.
I can't. I don't have a date on that. Yeah. And but I still have the book and have reread it.
Wow.
And so, but his adventure, and books like Moby Dick and all those were kind of interesting to me too. But anyway, so I decided I was going to go in the Navy. So I joined the Navy, and somehow I talked Ted into it.
He wasn't interested?
He was interested. Maybe he ordered me to get in the Navy.
I'm thinking the
maybe
order,
that
he's like, we're
that
doing
could be
this.
true.
Yeah.
That could be true story.
I'd like to talk to Ted and find out who
Who
thinks.
we don't have to be talking into this thing right now, bearing it. And you know who I slept with?
Who?
No.
Tell them all. Eleanor?
Erase, I just said that.
No, but we
Roosevelt.
don't need to. And if there's something later on tonight you say, yeah, I wish I hadn't said that, we can take it out. It's not live.
I'm not too worried about
As far
what
as you
I've
know.
But we're all going to die. We're all going to
Yeah,
die,
yeah.
and it all comes out. And I
And
don't
so,
care.
but where were we? Joining the Navy.
So you and Ted figured out somehow.
I
that you're
loved
gonna
it.
join.
And he did kind of too. And so we both joined the reserves because I wanted to join the Navy. I wanted to have a head start to go into the Navy right out of high school. And he did too. And then there was other guys that joined the Navy. Dave Hoffler, who you know,
Yeah.
was in that group. And you asked me about were there computers. He started computers when it was like an abacus. So he was in the beginning of computers.
The size of a gymnasium.
Right. You talk about IBM.
And it
The
could make-
whole
it could make numbers.
building, 27 acres was one computer.
Yeah. And that overheated.
Yeah, and where they've gone, mind blowing.
Yeah,
But-
we could launch the shuttle from the computer we're recording this from right now. It's amazing.
Right,
Size of a hot pad.
it's incredible.
It's a cutting board.
Right. So we joined in the reserves. Then you were in the Navy, and you signed up, and it was official, and you signed your life away, and it was a commitment.
Did you know that then? When you were signing your life away? Like, I don't care. Take it all. I'm going to do something.
I was going to. That's what I wanted to do.
Your return on investment was I'm going to see the world.
I'm
I don't care.
I'm going to go to sea.
Yeah.
And so then, to make all kinds of long stories shorter, as we graduated from high school, and then I applied to go active duty, is what they called it then. I wanted to get into the regular Navy. You're not regular Navy, you're still reserve, but you go active duty. And so I wanted to do that, and so they turned me down.
Why?
There was no need. They didn't have jobs to fill at the moment.
The war was over.
Well,
and no new war.
there was, yes, things were bustling, but they weren't hot wars yet. So they turned me down. So I went to college for a year, and
Where'd you go to college?
I started San Jose City College, junior college.
San Jose.
Yeah, and so I couldn't make the big school, San Jose State. I couldn't make the big daddy. No, I think it was money more than anything, but and it was going to be a year of basics to get to mark time so I could join. Then January there was a crisis in Lebanon. It was
Really?
an old Lebanon crisis,
Wow.
and so they were calling people to active duty. So there was some. Well, they called me to active duty. So we want you now, January. Wait a minute, I've started my second semester, first year of college. I'll come in. Can I come in June? And they said yes.
All right.
So then I went in June of that year, and so it was my intent to go in the Navy, and I went in the Navy in June of '57 and or '58. Anyway, so
That wasn't that long ago. I don't think. I mean, it doesn't seem that long
50,
ago.
no,
Does it seem
no.
long ago to you?
It's not really.
When you look at the date, it doesn't seem long. When you envision yourself as a young man,
Yeah, when I see the pictures,
then you're like, oh, that's a million years ago.
I have a book of pictures of the Navy, and I should bring up and show
I'd love
the
to
kids that it's here. You've seen my.
I've seen it. I think
Yeah.
my son Liam would,
Yeah.
in particular, would like. Liam is all about brotherhood. So he wants to be a firefighter because he wants that brotherhood. And if he saw you in the Navy with your brothers,
well,
like,
my twin brother, who was a firefighter.
your brother, but also like your Navy brothers, like you're the guys that you did stuff with and
Yeah.
that you cared about and you loved.
I love the Navy.
Yeah, you loved the Navy.
I loved it.
Well, okay, I got to ask you a question. I worked for the Navy as a civilian. Did that tickle you at all? I mean, what you're like? Oh, it's not. He's not really serving, but he's.
Oh no! I was proud of you.
Yeah.
It was pride. I mean, and that Marine, the Marines, they don't like to hear us say little derogatory things because the Marines are a part of the Navy. Mm-hmm. They're under the Navy Admiral. They're a part, but they're their own thing, and I have a whole lot of respect for them.
As do I.
But we and when I was in the Navy, you haven't built up quite the respect, and so you get in fights. There's high arguments going. They beat the crap out of me.
Did you get beat, like hit?
Hit, yeah.
In the face or the stomach or what?
Yeah, in the face.
Wow.
Some
Punch you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's things about your dad that he's never told you, but I had a temper then, and, I'm not proud of it. It's a true story. I had kind of a bad temper. And so I wasn't very big then either, and so I got beat up because I would pick fights.
And then lose.
If you're little and you have a temper, that's not a good combination.
Right. I picked fights and lost, but it was with a woman, so it's even worse.
Yeah. And anyway, when I say we, Ted was there with me, and we were both went active duty at the same time. And so as we went in, fortunately, our grades were high enough in what they call the ARIGCT tests and whatever to find out if you had some capabilities, and we passed okay. And so we got electronics school at Treasure Island, and 6 months of intense electronics.
You were on Treasure Island doing intense.
School.
Yeah.
It was called an A school, and so you studied electronics, which was the thing then. That was the computers of then. It was electronics, and of course everybody wanted to get. It
was like radio and
radio and
transistors.
TV. The transistors weren't around yet.
Really?
We had vacuum tubes, and my vacuum tube voltmeter VTVM.
Do you still have it?
No, that was in the Navy time. They don't have vacuum tubes anymore.
I found one.
Yeah, they're old things that you can find in a museum. But we had VTVMs and vacuum tube voltmeter, measured voltages and amperage current. And
I gotta say, when I was working for the Navy, they were throwing away a 4-foot vacuum tube. 4 foot tall vacuum tube.
I should have gone in.
I would try to grab it with my. I think in my truck there fast enough before the bulldozer crunched it.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
And so, anyway, we were going to electronics school, and in case if you were an electronics technician, then if you got out of the Navy, you could be a TV repairman because TV was new also. So so we went to the 6-month school. About halfway through the school, some guy comes into the class. So the teacher said, "We have an announcement. So first class petty officer Smith's going to talk to you for a minute." And he came in and said, and there was 40 people in class. Anybody want to join the submarine service? And Ted and I happened to be sitting next to each other in the and we looked at each other, and I'd never seen one.
You'd never seen a submarine?
No.
But you knew what they were, though.
Yeah.
They've been around a while, but the concept.
Yeah.
But you're like, I never.
And we looked at each other and said,
sounds cool.
Raised our hand. And of the class, and 16, 18.
Did the teacher of the class say, it's stupid, you can do this, but it'd be dumb? Or did they influence you in any way? Or
no way.
So it's like,
you do or you don't.
Listen to Smith. And
Smith has an announcement.
Okay.
Anybody want to join the submarine service?
Bam.
Yeah, put up my hand. And I was actually told one of the things to get along in the service, any service, volunteer for special duty, anything, Green Beret, paratroopers, you name it, everything. Volunteer for everything. Dangerous, yeah. Exciting, yeah. Give you a chance to compete with some talented people, yeah. All the above.
Who told you that? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Was it a recruiter or was it like a best friend?
Never saw a recruiter. I was my own recruiter.
Huh.
Probably some guy in the service.
They said, do that.
Go for it. When you do,
if an opportunity shows up, do it.
Take it.
That's good
That's
advice.
when they told you to go to high school. Everybody has to learn to type. Never turn down typing. Learn how to type when you go to in the service. Go for it. Anyway, I did. So
do you think that's good advice now? Like if an opportunity comes up for like, okay, listen, there's a one-off ship that's going out in the Monterey Bay.
Without hesitation,
do that thing.
Yep.
Yeah. If you go to a garage sale and there's something you've seen only once, should you buy it?
Yep. So buy that thing.
I agree. Yeah.
So
you and Ted both said, yeah, we're going to do
both
this.
said yeah, and they about 20 said yeah, and they picked 4, and Ted and I happened to be 2 of the 4 they picked.
2 of the 4.
Yeah. They picked 4 to go out of this group.
Do they pick brothers now to put on the same submarine?
Oh, they didn't even know we were brothers. Well, they knew.
Like,
They didn't know.
Everybody
Well,
looks the
they-
same.
So eyesight's not an issue when it comes to working
when
on
you go
submarines.
on the service, part of the service mode is you go to boot camp, and they turn you into all
The same person.
little clones of the same person. So
You look
and
the
so
same.
They strip you down. So you're all bald. You know, you all wear the same dungarees, same
You're all roughly 20 years old, right?
18.
17, 18.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so
average age on a submarine.
So they're not looking like, man, you have the same eyes as the other guy. You're like,
no,
that would be weird.
You all look the same.
Yeah, same. 2 of the what's
Maybe
it-
color of skin might make a difference, but not a big difference.
Not much.
You're still all the same.
Yeah. So like, and
that's
Rose, the
amazing.
last name Rose didn't
Make a difference.
Whatever.
And so it was kind of unique. And so we got picked, and so we ended up graduating from electronics school in San Francisco and Treasure Island, and went to submarine school in Groton, Connecticut. So we flew propeller. They didn't have jets then, but propeller plane flew us from, and we're on a Navy's ticket to
It was like a tin can plane, or what was it like? Like
Oh, it was
propeller?
4-engine. No, you had
It was
a
deluxe.
DC-6, or I don't know what they were. A
Good plane.
little bigger than a DC-3.
But four engines
Four
is
engines,
good.
yeah. And so
And Connecticut I don't know anything about geography. Does that have an ocean? Does it have a place to put a
Connecticut,
submarine?
you're on the coast.
You're on the coast.
Okay, coast. Got it.
Thames River comes into the ocean at New London is on one side, and Groton is on the other side. And most people say it was New London, Connecticut, where the submarine school was, which is an area you're across the river in Groton.
Okay.
And so that's where I went to submarine school. And so then submarine school, we graduated and got picked for special electronics because we're electronics technicians, we're ETs. We got for special electronics, and this is where I kind of spirit the stuff up with spy electronics. We were taught special stuff.
You knew spy stuff?
I was
Maybe?
yeah. So,
That's
and I
cool.
colored this up. We never know what is true now and not because I was sworn to secrecy for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept quiet for 20 years. But then I can make up a lot of stories about how all the secrecy and all the
Absolutely.
all the stuff
I would.
that happened. But we did do that. So we were, and so then you went from a special electronics school, the ETs did, to their ship, and lo and behold, the USS Rock,
The Rock.
the Rock, R-O-C-K, and have a name for a submarine, SSR for radar picket.
So
SS.
the first, it was the first ship you've been on then? Had you been on a ship at that point?
Hadn't been on a ship.
And
Been
the
in school
first
for
one
9
you're on
months.
is called The Rock. It
I'm
goes-
waiting to go to sea, and I'm still going to school.
And it's going to the bottom of the ocean. Like
it's a rock.
It's a
I have a question. In the schooling process, I don't know where they figured this out. How do they figure out that you're not claustrophobic?
Well,
Because you're talking about submarines, and I have an issue with claustrophobia where I just I'll see someone in a situation and I find it hard to breathe. I find it.
Yeah, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but Winnie the Pooh, right? Getting caught.
That's my story. There's an episode of Winnie the Pooh getting caught in Rabbit's Hole. I don't know if that's what started it, if that's where I discovered it as a kid, but I just, I
Even
find
the
it hard
thought
to
now,
breathe,
right?
and I feel like I'm
Winnie
being
the Pooh-
hugged by an invisible.
Melinda's the same way. She won't go aboard. I took you aboard the submarine in San Francisco. It's tied up to the harbor.
Yeah, I'm not claustrophobic. You
No.
put me in a tight spot.
I couldn't-
You can put me in a coffin underground, and I wouldn't.
For those of you who don't know, I'm 6'9". I've been 6'9" for a long time. I don't know how many. What is there a height limit for what you could be in a?
Well, no, because we had a 6'6" guy on our submarine.
In addition to 6'9",
6'9"
I
probably
have other
you wouldn't
dimensions
have-
that would rule me out
And 6'9"
at this point. But
probably would have ruled you out from because these were World War II style
so-
submarines. They were the diesel electrics. They weren't nuclear powered. They were,
I'm 50 and
nuclear.
I'm still discovering the depths to which my
here's why
my claustrophobia will kick in.
you couldn't have hidden your claustrophobia. One, first off, in between where you volunteered, where I raised the hand, and before you cleared electronics school to select them down from what are these 16 or 20, whatever, down to 4, you had tests to go through.
Right.
And so, and a shrink and that kind of thing. So they pretty well verbally you passed the test. So they qualified you then that you could continue on and go to school. And one of the things, though, two of the things that happened at school that would eliminate you. One of them, first off, they
Other than people looking at me.
You're like, you're not going in a summary.
If you're claustrophobic, one they would test you in this chamber and pressurize you to, I think it was 100 feet, 155 pounds or 45 pounds or something like that. Like you're pressurized and they pressurize you so you get 100 feet. You start getting a little giddy. They put.
You okay with that?
You mean punching everyone and
put
elbowing and trying to get out?
They put about 12 of you in a propane tank, about from Dave's elbow to the wall.
Oh my goodness.
They put 10 of you in there, and then they close the hatch, clump, and then they start pressurizing you, and your ears pop and things are going on and steam is rising because sweaty bodies.
No.
And so then if you pass that, because
Was that underwater or was it just in a tube? You walked in.
Just walked into it.
All right.
And so then when you got through,
Were you and Ted in the same tube? Or were you different? Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember he was in the same tube, but we were in the same class in Groton, Connecticut. So there's a story that adds to that. But anyway, so then there was the tower. So what eliminated the men from the boys was the tower. And the tower had a propane tank vertical, the size of a propane tank.
Okay. Come in.
About your size, okay. And you're stuck to the side of this tower.
Inside of it? Like you're in the
There's
tank and the tank's on the
This
tower.
little propane tank is stuck to the side of this tube that's 115 feet tall. You're about halfway.
115 feet.
Yeah, and you're about 55 feet in the air.
Okay.
Stuck to this tower of water. So
Can you see out?
You're in this tube, and you have there's a leader in there. There's a guy in there who knows what he's doing, and so you have a submarine hatch that opens up to this tower of water. So what they do is they fill the tube full of water to where you're only.
Well,
Are you out, Dave?
I'd like to thank you for the nightmare I will have tonight.
Okay, so you're 55 feet in the air in a tube, and they
you have
fill
another
it to your
55
chin.
feet to go.
Oh,
You go
boy.
to the top.
All right.
And so now they've schooled you to say they're going to pressurize you and you're going to hyperventilate and breathe. And they're going to run the water up to your chin.
And you were 17, 18 years old?
I was 18. And so you you're breathing in this little bubble of air, hyperventilating to charge your body with oxygen. Because what they do is they say, we're going to pressurize you to 55 feet, the equivalent, so that we can push this submarine hatch door, which is an oval, open. And there's a little step outside. So then they put a life jacket on you, but no breathing apparatus, nothing, no.
you and a
everybody
rubber
says you had a
vest.
Mumsen lung. Well, Mumsen was back in the 30 years ago, and they didn't have Mumsen. You had just you and a life jacket. You stepped outside, and they were guys swimming down there. There's swimming around with tanks, breathing, and they put the fear into. They said because when you step outside, you're going to blow out all your air. You're going to take this lungful of air, finally, dip your head underwater, duck out of this hatch, and you're going to have 55 feet to go, and you're going to have a K-Poc life jacket on, and it's going to pull you to the surface. And before you start out, this frogman has this latch on you tightly, and you're going to blow out all your air. So they put the fear into me. So I did that. I hyperventilated, ducked my head out, stepped out on this little step.
And they drop the tube, right? Into the water?
I'm in this tube of water.
Yeah.
It's 30 feet diameter. There's 6 frogmen and upside down hatches that they can grab you that have air in them.
All right.
That they can grab you and stick you into. Because he said, you're going to blow out all your air. Because if you don't, you're going to burst your lungs. Because air embolism, it goes into your lungs. bubble goes to your brain, you're dead.
Turns you crazy. And you
Yeah,
die.
and we'd heard all the stories. So I, like a klutz, took them for their word. And I blew out all my air because they said, also, when you're on your way up, they want you to be blowing bubbles out of your mouth. So you're not to save any air, but the air in the residual air in your lungs will expand. And so bubbles are going to come out of your. I took them literally. I did everything they said. Only I was out of air at 50 feet and nothing to paddle me upward. Just this slow moving life jacket.
Dumb old life jacket.
Yeah. And so then
The frogman thought you were holding your breath in.
No, because you just figure for an extended amount of seconds, feels like minutes, that I was blowing, picture bug-eyed, blowing as hard as I could because I said, oh, shoot, I blew out all my air. He told me to.
You said,
and
oh, shoot?
I did it.
Yeah, he's
something like that.
never sworn. I've never heard my dad swear. Oh, shoot.
And so I was pressing my lungs to
Make a bubble?
to make bubbles come out of my mouth, so that the air expanded. I pushed as hard as I could, so I'm through pushing.
You
That's
got all
it.
done.
I'm there, and so bubbles kept coming out of my mouth because they never grabbed me and pick me up and throw me into these upside down cups that they would stick you in with air in them. Once they grab
you had zero air, they'd give you air.
If you're not having bubbles coming out,
They'll give you air.
you're going under this cup,
Right, 'cause
with
you'll die.
an air bubble, right?
Yeah.
And so
You're trying to make as many bubbles as you can out of no air.
that's where I decided I'm going to die, but I'm going to do this. I'd rather die than not make it.
You'd rather do it right.
I'd rather die than not make it.
I love you with all my heart.
So I'm pressing, and eventually I broke the surface.
Wow.
And
I think there's a lot of you in Liam. I really do. I think that level of like, nope, the right way. I'll die doing it the right way.
it sounds dramatic.
But it's not. It's like, no.
That's where I was.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That's amazing. You know, I've had a couple of former students in my years as a youth pastor that became SEALs, Navy SEALs, and they tell stories of their training, which sounds like someone's tried to kill them for 6 weeks. You know, and
Right,
that's not unlike Is that what they go through now? As somebody
Yes.
was, that's amazing. I thought that was.
You take our Navy SEALs, and you have to really want to be there.
Oh yeah,
And-
guys who want to be there can't be there.
Well,
I mean,
and most-
Right.
that-
The dreamers can't get there.
They put through, and then they put you through. One of them is Hell Week, and I would never pass. I'd never make it because sleep deprivity is one of the factors. Is they want you. You can't do it, but they want you to stay awake for a week.
They had a
week?
TV show.
A week.
There was a TV show that showed their training that I couldn't watch. I couldn't watch the TV show.
Did you like have anxiety about it, or like what part? Like I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, when I watched that, I had already had 2 students that I knew go through that, and
I can't watch.
And one of the books.
it was.
One of the books I had in my library that I've given away had it was I shouldn't have, but I lost the book. It was assigned. I know a guy that was a frogman, was UDT, and wrote a book about it, and then he autographed one and gave it to me,
Oh, and you keep it?
and
So
I
you-
loaned it out, and it
Never came back.
never came back.
UDT that's underwater demolition technician.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The frogman is where our SEALs started.
Where SEALs came from. Yeah.
And they were demolition guys in the beginning, and they would swoop them in on rafts and stuff, and then part of the submarine thing
Right.
is we discharged guys. Now I didn't know them as I knew them as pathfinders. These guys were Marines. Talk about worshiping these guys, and we set them off. We let them go wherever they had to go. They don't tell us.
And these are guys that like punched you at some point, right? And you.
Well, no, but by this time we were I was on a ship, and we were placing these guys on where they wanted to go. And so
you by this point had grown up a little bit. Like you're like, oh, these guys.
yeah.
Do you think so?
These guys had my admiration. They were called Pathfinders, as I remember, and they were Marines, and they did all this underwater stuff too. And I think all those got together. The school is down in San Diego, and it's there where you don't see them, but what they put them through, and then they put them through Hell Week. They drive you out unless you're committed to death, and you can sit there after you've been awake for 4 days, and you have a telephone pole on your chest, and you and 10 other guys doing sit-ups with a telephone pole on your chest.
Did you do that?
No. These are the SEALs of today.
SEALs. Yeah.
And you got to read a book on them. That they did that. No, we were, we can talk about the glory and all that, but and I'm proud of being a submarine sailor, but there was nothing compared to what these guys do. Their skills and their stamina and what they're capable of doing. And killing you 17 different ways with their index finger.
Yeah, they could do it no problem.
Those kind of things that you.
It was many years ago, but I had two. I was at. It was around Christmas time, and I was at a beach house in where was it? Pajaro Dunes, which is kind of Watsonville area.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was the younger brother of a good friend who was a SEAL, and one of the guys was a guy that was in my youth group, the first youth group, a kid I grew up with in my church. I both grew up with them at my church, and they were both Navy SEALs. And I may have taken advantage of my size in their youth when they were younger. And looking at these two Navy SEALs who could probably kill me 50 ways without leaving a mark, I apologize profusely to them.
Did you? Like, I am so sorry. We're good? Did you say, like, we're good?
We're good. We're good. They're great guys. One of them was part of that Operation Red Wing that happened 15 years ago this summer. He died in that whole thing, that whole lone survivor movie thing. He was one of the guys in that movie, and I don't know. I can't even be. They explained it to me, but what they went through they couldn't talk about things they did, but they explained what it took, and it was. You might as well have been reading me a book. I mean, it was that kind of connection. It's like, that's not real. That's nothing.
That can't be real.
That's nothing we do. It just makes you want to apologize for
everything.
I'm sorry. I've called myself a man for years, but I'm
not even close.
I'm sorry.
That's exactly. When I worked for the Navy, there were some cool new pieces of technology that our guys needed in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I was out at Camp Roberts, and with my little red pickup truck, right? I'm a total dork, Star Wars fan, never fought anybody in my life, never, my man card is barely kept. And I had a bunch of Marines out there, and we were testing new technology, and we did that all day long, and it was fantastic. And I said, okay, I'm going to head back to the camp or whatever. And all the Marines jumped in the back of my little red pickup truck. And it was the most precious cargo I've ever carried. And they had the slowest, most safe ride of their lives, because the last thing I want to do is be the guy that hurt one of these dudes that are 10 times more manly than I am.
Chocolate-covered pretzel break.
Oh, thank you. These pretzels are delightful.
Would you hand me?
So I had about,
Thank you.
I don't know, 10 guys in the back of my pickup truck. And they had the gentlest ride I could give them, because the last thing I want to do is hurt them. So my man card.
Well, that's kind of like, no, they saluted you. I am proud of you for working with the Navy and the fact that they saluted you. You know, you had a responsible job that you were having to do, and you saw some military things that military people do that you were trusted with. And
yeah, there's stuff. There's stuff I probably shouldn't talk about that was amazing. You know, I'm impressed. I love our military forces very much.
don't even have to. I know. You know, you got involved with it.
Yeah, it was
And
incredible.
that's
Best people I've ever met.
A lot of people don't know how. Well, they do know. A lot of people do know. Our military people, and there's bad seeds in every
Sure.
outfit, and so there's bad guys too. But our military, the people, you know, if we're going to go to war with someone, I want to be with our military.
I would stand with them every day.
Talk about brotherhood.
Yeah, incredible. So that's you. That's you in the Navy. You're a young man. You're 17, 18, 20-ish. Did you see? Was there a war that took place while you were in the Navy? Was there the?
No, it was in between wars. We were the French had been kicked out of Vietnam, Dien Bien Phu, and I'm probably pronouncing that a little bit wrong, but that's the way I remember it. The French had left, and we didn't talk about it for 20 years, but they talk about it now. Anyway, we were involved with research in Vietnam.
Is research a euphemism, or is that like?
Yeah, we were spying, and so then I graduated to research to spying. Mm-hmm. So to make it more dramatic, no big deal. I'm just saying that when I told you as a little boy, Dad's a spy, that's pretty dramatic. Mm-hmm.
I was scared.
James Bond.
I listened to everything you said after that, and I was like, okay, Dad's a
James
spy.
Bond stuff.
He'll kill me with.
Really. But the fact is, we were trained. Ted and I, were on the same submarine. The submarine had been, if you ever knew what a World War II type fleet submarine, the newer ones that were able to stay up with the fleet, consequently called fleet submarines, they had to go 20 knots. How
fast is 20 knots on land?
22 miles an hour in that range. And but I had to stay with the fleet, but if you took this cigar-shaped ship and cut it right at the control room, which is below the conning tower, which is where the periscope is, which everybody sees.
The cool stuff.
The cool stuff. And the periscope is in the conning tower, and below that's the control room. And that's where you see, if you saw a World War II movie, straight board or red board, green board, whatever. That's the valves that they shut when you're diving, dive, ooga, ooga. And that's the control room. And so right at the forward part of the control room, they sliced the submarine, pushed it out another roughly 28 feet, and put a whole new section of submarine in there.
Did they literally do that? Like cut it in half and add more to the rock?
To the rock. SSR 274.
SSR 274, and you'd find it.
SSR 274.
And I did that when I was working as a civilian for the Navy. I looked up your boat.
That was the rock.
Yeah, it was the rock.
And it was one of the boats there was a shipyard in Wisconsin. And that's where several of the submarines, the two I were on, were built there, and shipped down the Mississippi River to get to the ocean as they were built. But anyway, there was about 8 of them that were cut right there, and extended to a whole new compartment, chock full of electronics.
Oh.
So they needed a lot of electronics technicians to work on these electronics or operate them, and so I worked on them and operated the ones that were selective for doing research. And that's my job. And in dull times when you're just at sea, you had a radar watch, so you just stood a radar watch looking at a radar blip. And
was it just like in the movies where it's a
sweeping green sweeping hand? You go through a little dot, and it would go.
And you saw yourself on there, and then you saw anything else.
And you had 2 levers, and it was like a Etch-a-Sketch.
Really?
Only, and then you could move
up,
this
down, left, right.
Yeah, and so you'd move it. So that's it.
Look around.
When you have a 4-hour watch and you're at sea and there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
You practice making pictures on your radar screen.
Did you?
Write your name and
Bill Rose.
Make pictures of.
Did you ever find like a whale, or does all that stuff show up? Like does everything show up?
No, not on radar. Is you're on the surface. The whales would show up with the sonar guys.
Sonar.
And that sonar was different.
Okay, you were radar.
I was.
And you were tired of
I
looking
was
for ships.
actually I was ET, sonarman or SOs. I was an ET. So they had the ETs operated stuff. So, but we were designated radar.
And radar doesn't work underwater, right?
No, radar is...
Was the submarine, was the rock mostly on the surface, or was it mostly underwater?
Mostly on the surface. Diesel...
Because it goes faster,
yeah.
right? And there's no reason to be underwater if you don't have to.
Before the world of nuclear power.
Yeah. Was the rock ever converted to nuclear power?
No. The Nautilus had been launched when I was in the service. The first... It was experimental, actually. It was the first one.
That's the first nuclear sub?
Right.
And you were told about it as a
we were told about
submariner?
It, right.
Yeah.
But, and we had a chance. We were offered nuclear power school.
No?
And I said no.
Why?
I wanted to go to sea. I didn't want to go. Those guys dove and
They're
stayed
underwater all the time.
3 months, 2 months.
Right? Because they're hiding.
Yeah, well, half of them are hiding. You got the hiders, and then you got the boomer. You got the boomers are hiding, and the attacks of nuclear power are chasing the bad guys.
Yeah.
So you got two kinds: hiders and chasers.
And chasers. And did you ever chase somebody?
Well, we just got involved a little bit of a confrontation with North Vietnamese when we were doing research, and so that's the only part of my life that I can tell a quote unquote sea story. Is that we were up in shallow water and we were up. We had people on deck doing other things that were classified secret with other equipment that I wasn't classified with, and we were caught. They had a hunch of where
The North Koreans kind of figured out where you were.
North Korea was a previous war back in 1951.
So who figured out where you were?
The North Vietnamese.
North Vietnamese. They figured out where you.
They
They
gunboat.
had a good idea where you were.
They had a damn good idea exactly where we were.
Shit.
And so that we were at that time we were in about 100 feet of water. A periscope depth is 60 feet on a fleet sub. So if you went down,
I'm gonna ask about a periscope. That's physically going up above the water, right? So
That's correct.
and it can only go 60 feet. So you need to be
from the keel.
okay.
The keel, the bottom of the boat, the keel, where and where the top of the submarine is, that the periscope comes out of, and they termed that the sail. Now the keel is 60 feet to where you can put your scope up and see around, look around.
So you're only hiding a little bit when you're using the periscope. Right? In movies, I feel like they're way underwater and they can send the periscope up infinitely.
No, your keel has to be.
You're pretty close to the surface already, right?
You're exactly right at the surface.
Yeah, and so you're just peeking. Right?
You're speaking up, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So your sail doesn't go up, right?
No. Then
But you're like you don't have a profile on the surface, really.
no, exactly. You don't have a profile. Yeah. You're below the water, but you're barely below the water.
You're peeking up and you're looking around.
And and if there's waves, and sometimes by mistake you broach and you come in a big swirl of white water foam.
And people spot you.
Well,
Bad
yeah,
guys
and
spot
then
you.
they see you, and then they know right where to put the depth charge.
Yeah, and they'll send
right
it.
over there on that X.
We know where he is.
And he's gone.
Yeah.
And so we got. They knew where we were. They saw the blip, and so then there was a chase. And so, as World War II submarines, your defense was not surface attack. They tried it a few times, but your defense was hide,
Run away.
coward.
That's your only shot. Your best shot is go away.
You be the best coward you can be.
Yeah.
Hide as good as you can.
Wow.
So they were chasing us and they were catching up to us, and so we were running as fast as we could on the surface, trying to get away from this gunboat. So it was like we were doing 20 knots and he was doing 21, and so it was, and we were trying to get to deep water, so that.
So you could dive, 'cause were they in a submarine? They were in a boat.
No, they're in a gunboat.
Yeah.
Surface thing.
So you need to get to deep water and go under.
Think PT 109, but it was like whatever.
Yeah.
We never saw it.
Were you sweating? Like were you like oh
No,
make it or
matter
not?
of fact, Ted and I've talked about that. No, it was an adventure. We were going to get away. 18 years old.
Yeah, right. You're like this is a chase. This is the ultimate game of tag.
Yeah.
You gonna get us or not?
It's like that.
Yeah.
We better get away. You know, the alternative is not acceptable.
We don't want to die.
Yeah, and so what we were looking for, one, we had to get out of shallow water and get into deep water. And then you had to dive. You had to dive knowing that you had a chance to go down deep enough. And then what you tried to get below was a temperature gradient. And at the time, that was your defense. Because if you see, it's like when the chemistry science teacher puts the straw in the water and the straw bends at a different angle than when, the parallax. The difference in sight. Well, sound is the same way. If there's temperature differences, it alters where...
It's like a refraction of sound?
A refraction, yeah. I think that's...
And so
that's
then the gunboat can't, we're shooting.
It says, you're over here, but you're really,
over there.
200 feet the other side of that. And 200 feet from those depth charges, you were going to make it. And so we found a temperature gradient. And then we went, and then, there was a one move, run silent, run deep, or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that was the key. Run is silent. Everybody be quiet.
Everybody hide.
Nobody hammer on anything. Don't open up any cans.
Don't make a new thing.
Popcorn. Yeah, hey.
And with that exciting story, we have wrapped up episode 5 of Hartlandia, interviewing my dad, Bill Rose, on his submarine being chased by the North Vietnamese and discussing a little bit about his adventures with depth charges.
Reminding us that over 50 years old, we're still children.
I've done nothing.
We've done nothing manly in our lives.
At all.
So.
It amazes me. I thought I was manly when I chopped some wood, but I'm way
I
off.
split wood.
I'm a doof.